Hello, my dears. Welcome to our week 4 reflections, our final week of reflections as we move into the last few days of thothtober. I'm feeling a little bit more, not somber, but just more collected. My reflections this week were very beautiful and I'm really excited to share them. So yeah, we're going to get into the reflection questions, couple cards readings, you know the vibes. Yeah, I'm gonna share that for our week of taste that we just had. I'm really excited for that. I've got the last few grams of my Huangpian Sheng Pu'er tea called Mom and Pop Shop from Mayleaf. I think I've shared this on the channel before. I could have sworn I put this in my my previous studium and punctum that I put out over the summer. Anyway, loving it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm on my last few grams as I've said. I think this is the first time I've had it since then, whenever that was, if that was the one. I don't want to get too distracted, but like I said, I'm feeling very like cozy. I'm in a cozy mood. But yeah, this week we have pretty much the same format as usual. You can find the PDF in the description, as you know, I'm sure by now. But yeah, let's get into the questions. We're gonna have 3 questions with our guide, and well, technically 2 plus 1, depending on how you look at it. You can look at it as from your guide or not. But anyway, yeah, 3 questions with cards. And then 4 journaling questions after, as usual, as you know. So the first question is, what does my guide want me to know about my desires? I find that taste is a really interesting time to talk about desire. It can get really muddy really quickly, but there's so many layers to taste that I've just been enjoyed playing with, just in my mind at the very least. There's so many directions that all of these senses could have gone into, and I found taste to be one that was like surprisingly really interesting and kind of wanted to go on so many different like detours and paths. But yeah, what does my guide want me to know about my desires? And then next is, what does my guide want me to know about the way I'm currently nourishing myself? I went back and forth with this one on whether it should be what my guide wants me to change about the way that I'm currently nourishing myself. But I decided to go with no, in keeping with the previous question, but you're welcome to change it if you'd like. But I wanted to just kind of leave it open to just what my guide wants me to know, just allowing them to give me the information that is best suited to the moment. If you feel like you want to ask about change specifically, you're welcome to do that. That could come up anyway, you know, likely to come up anyway is something that you could be shifting or changing. But anyway, next and last is about intention, and it is, my intention speaks to my taste for blank. I really enjoyed this idea of taste as also just this sense of, there's this layer of like refinement, but also the layer of like having a taste for something that you like want or desire, if that makes sense. Like I have a taste for, I don't know why ambition always comes to mind. I don't know what it is, but I have a taste for success. Like those words are the ones that come to mind, but like I have a taste for slow days, or I don't know, fireside nights, you know, something like that. Yeah, like what you want, what you enjoy in general. That's just a way that I look at it. You can define that for yourself, whatever your taste means to you, but speaks to my taste for what? So what does that mean? And then we have our discussion / journaling questions. How has it felt to explore taste with the Thoth Tarot? Which has been our first question on all of the reflections to date. And next is, what culinary dish or style of cuisine would I compare to the Thoth Tarot? I really liked this one. This was a fun journey to get into for me. Next is, how does the Thoth support my discernment? I liked this question a lot too. Going back to the idea of taste as something that is like how discerning your palette is, if that makes sense. I really liked that. And lastly, what does the Thoth Tarot influence me to savor about my life? Yeah. The questions this week, and like I said, I just found them to be so impactful, like so easily impactful. I feel like they just sort of flow really nicely, and yeah, I really appreciate that about them. So yeah, those are the questions for taste reflections this week. Certainly let me know your responses. I'd love to hear them. And if you're gonna stick around for my responses, I'll see you there. And if you'll be back later, I'll see you later. Okay, so I don't know, the answers this time around were a little bit meandering, especially starting with the first one. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. I hope I can communicate it as clearly as possible, or as clearly as it is to me right now. I felt like this week, like I said before, it just flowed. Well, I think I said before if I didn't cut it out. But yeah, it just flowed really nicely, and I feel like the answers were just took me on different journeys and pathways, and like I feel like I'm still kind of exploring them. But anyway, so for this first question of what does my guide want me to know about my desires, first of all, my guide is here in the lust card. It is the snake slash serpent slash this creature here. Yeah, so the first card that I got for what does my guide want me to know about my desires, I got the Sun card, which is a beautiful card to get for your desires. It felt like a beautiful, like a, I don't know. I feel like I said this before about a couple of cards recently, but I don't often get the Sun card either. It's just not a card I get. But what's really interesting is that I've been getting the Moon a lot, and the Moon has been my card of the year, and my birthday's coming up, and I'm going to be moving into the Sun card. So I thought that was an interesting note there about my desires, especially as some, I guess to put some specific desires, they are having to do with things happening next year, as in 2025 and things like that. So there is some level of the answer that has to do with that. While meanwhile, in general, I feel like it's a commentary on my approach to desire and the ways that I tend to desire things and the things that I tend to desire. Anyway, so yeah, getting the Sun card, I felt like a really helpful card, as in it felt really nice to get. But yeah, I guess generally just off the bat is right, like you just get this like beautiful, illuminating, fulfilling feeling for the desires that I have, and that they tend to be good for me and tend to be just good. But also I felt like it was a confirmation of something that I've been talking about a lot lately, which is about, remaining in the present and having all of my desires be like not having the attachment to desire and being in the here and now, as in like everything I have, I need now. Oh my God. I swear I don't understand why this particular study, which I do understand why, but I feel so much that when I start talking about my responses, I start going back to like Christian shit. And it's just so interesting to me. Because as soon as I said that, the thing that came to mind was Psalm 23, verse 1. The New Living Translation, for those who know, is the one that stuck with me. At least I think it is. Or is it not the Good News Translation? Anyway, it's the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need. Oh, I think other versions say like the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So that's, holy hell. Why do I go straight back to the Bible in like every video that I make? I swear. Like, I'm gonna take a sip for that. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, I kind of know what that's about. But anyway, yes, this idea that I'm sort of trying to figure out this level of detachment with my desire that is very affirmed by my guide, as well as just feeling pretty good about them in general. Like I don't think one thing. I've been doing some I Ching castings, and so I decided to do a little bit of a divining a hexagram. I've been reading Benabelle's book, I Ching, her I Ching book, and I've been kind of reading it messily, to be honest with you, so, whatever. But one of the exercises that she has is like divining a hexagram, and so I don't know, something about seeing the sun there and the hill in the background made me think of like earth and heaven, which I should have thought of mountain in heaven and not earth in heaven. So that's interesting. That's a hexagram I'll look at later with mountain below and heaven above. I'm not super well versed, so I don't know that one off the top of my head. I don't know any of them off the top of my head. That's not true, actually. Anyway, you see how meandering it is already? But first of all, I think of like Ra and Jeb. I'm thinking of the sun, and I'm thinking of Jeb with that hill. Like, I just can't not think of, his reaching up, his body part. But anyway, that's not what I was thinking about. What I was thinking about, was that earth below, heaven above, which corresponds apparently to hexagram 12, which is stalemate. But part of that exercise is also to think about, to divine which lines are changing. And for me, I just immediately was like 3 and 4. And so that created a transformed hexagram of hexagram 53, which is steadfast. And what I got from that was, from the first hexagram, was really interesting. I didn't really know where to go with it because it was kind of unexpected. I found that most of the information that I got was in the transformed hexagram, which makes a lot of sense because it was kind of more organically made as opposed to the first one, which was just based on like, oh, earth below, heaven above. It wasn't line by line, which the second hexagram was more line based, especially through the changing lines. Anyway, if you know I Ching, I hope I'm not speaking gibberish to those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, so from the first one, it was kind of one of the things that I got from that was bringing my desires into the light, especially with this sun card here, which is like growing in self-assurance and courage. And that's something that I felt like my guide was kind of pointing me toward. And for the transformed hexagram, it talked in this hexagram, it was so interesting. It talked a lot about a wild goose or a wild swan, which I thought was super interesting and something to think about. It brought me back to the Princess of Cups, which I didn't look into because I was already doing so much with this I Ching stuff. But what I got from that hexagram was to not seek overnight success, to build a strong foundation for what you want. Embrace your nature, slow and steady. And it talked about like going into the mountain instead of like deeper into the mountain instead of up into the sky, which I thought, once again, really cool. It was just happening. It was all happening. And the thing about that hexagram too is that with the goose thing, what I meant to mention also was that the entire hexagram from line 1 to line 6 is about this like swan like going towards the hillside, and it was so perfect. Like, it's great. It's just wild. But what it talked about with the swan there and that journey that it was taking was that don't be foolishly ambitious. Consider timing and like be willing to wait for things when they're ill-timed. If you go ahead when something's ill-timed, you won't yield anything. But when the time is right, you will achieve, it says, a greater spiritual purpose. But so yeah, what I just got from that, there were so many layers to this answer, and it's a little overwhelming, honestly, to think about, to talk about. And I only kind of just did this, so I'm just still kind of like in that like nebulous space of getting these answers. So yeah, that was a lot. And yeah, it's so interesting where it just talked about like I had already written before I went into the I Ching stuff, bring your unconscious into the light and your desires sprout toward the heavens. And so yeah, it was really interesting to get this idea of like bring your desires into the light, but also like don't necessarily seek the heavens, seek going deeper into the mountain, and consider timing when it comes to your desires, especially when I was just talking about timing at the beginning with 2025 and stuff like that. So be willing to wait if something is ill-timed is very on point for me. Anyways, moving on. The second one is, what does my guide want me to know about the way I'm currently nourishing myself? So considering mind, body, and spirit, I got the art card, or temperance. however you view this card, alchemy as well. This one was honestly, it seems like it would be clear, but at the same time it was kind of not clear, probably because I was in the process of changing the question, honestly. From change to no. So I was in a little bit of an unbalanced flip-floppy state, so here you go. Definitely reading my energy there, but with that I got this idea that it was like unintegrated and fragmented. Yeah, just thinking about like this sort of union of opposites, I felt like I don't feel like the way that I'm nourishing myself has been very balanced. And so I think it reminded me of something that my previous boss used to say a lot whenever we be like, I used to work in like grants, like public grants and stuff like that. And so, you know, we'd get applications and we'd have to manage, you know, the life of the grant and stuff like that. Anyway, he would always say like, it's an art, not a science. So whenever we'd be dealing with, I don't know, whatever the would be dealing with, he would just be like, it's an art, not a science. It was like his favorite little catchphrase that he would always say. And that's what it just made me think of. Wow, like it is a science at the same time. Like art is a science and science is an art at the same time. But just the idea that like, it's not something that you follow to the letter and you get like these rules and regulations and you just do it, you know, step by step. And it's just this perfected thing. It's an art, not a science. It's something that you feel, and almost like, ooh, it's like cooking with the ancestors. How they say like, oh, stop when your ancestors tell you to stop when you're putting your seasonings and stuff. So that's what it made me think of. But yeah, just like needing more intentional alchemy in my days. And I think in the book it talks something about about the Latin phrase. Gosh, I don't remember what it says on it, but just like meditating and, you know, clearing my mind more. I was talking with my friend recently about just silence and needing more silence in my life, and the more sounds and music and, you know, podcasts and videos and music and sounds that I'm taking in, it's just more things for my brain to be processing and more just clogging, I guess. So just really cleansing. Yeah, I just really, for me, got the idea to like meditate was one of the things, but just to also create more art specifically. As an artist, I felt like that was a direct point to say like nourish myself with art and to do some more time in the creation process, especially because it is a way to meditate and it is a way to sort of clear the mind and clear the energy field and all that. But yeah, just finding more creative ways to feed my mind and spirit is something that I felt like my guide was telling me about. Bring more art into it. And I haven't been eating enough veggies. I was definitely getting that. I'm not cooking enough like really balanced meals. So that's something I need to be looking into. That was definitely a big deal with that, I felt like. More tea too. It may seem like I have tea all the time, but it's not all the time. Not enough, I don't think. I need more tea. I would love more tea. Birthday wish, more tea. And I think my guide's telling me to be fair. You know, you got the hot water. It's in there. You can see it, right? It's definitely in there. Anyway. Next question is, my intention speaks to my taste for, sadly, speaks to my taste for the Eight of Cups, indolence. This went a couple of different ways. Stillness. It's funny, I was just talking about needing more meditation, but just this feeling of like, I definitely sometimes like can be so slow that I can be perceived as being not moving at all or being lazy, which I hate that word, but like I don't believe in the word really as far as like the way that we apply it, or even in general, I don't know. I don't really believe in the word, but perceived as lazy, meaning being perceived as this thing that we use, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, just this feeling of like stagnation that my intention was to prove myself worthy. So what I mean by that is I felt like I was sort of trying to, even though I don't, gosh, I'm going to be forever kicking myself for picking this intention. It like seemed right at the time, but I kind of knew that it was like a little bit contrary to my own self, but I did it anyway. So it's a lesson in of itself. But so actually, let's jump to that. So because the other meaning, besides the stillness and slowness and stagnation that we were talking about, but it talks about like the more you try to revitalize a relationship which has fallen into a rut, the more powerless and empty you will feel. So it definitely felt like my taste for like trying to like do something and like change things and be better and do better and all of these things, which does go into the idea of like the indolence aspect of like my perception of myself is that I could be too slow. And so there's this it's my taste for maybe judging myself, maybe my taste for wanting to do things differently and like correct myself maybe. But it says yeah, maybe a sign indicating your fears of accepting love. So what was interesting with that was like this idea, like I was just saying, that I feel like there's this habit of mine to want to earn, which we talked about, I forget which week, it had to have been sound, I feel. Sound or smell? No, it had to have been sound. Where talking about my intention was saying that the background behind it, no, maybe it was sight actually, was oppression. And this repression and feeling like I needed to change myself and alter my expression in order to receive acceptance and things like that. And so here we are again. Was just talking about this fear of accepting, because what I talked about in the beginning was it came from the Fool and wanting this how it said in I ventured out of the thoth, and so maybe that was my mistake. But anyway, I ventured out of the thoth, and I got this from the Little White Book of the Spirit Keepers. What it talked about, like having to double your efforts, and so there was this thing of like, yeah, work harder, change things. You know, you're not. I don't know. You want something, you got to work extra hard, and so yeah, just this taste for needing to shake myself up when I feel like I'm not moving enough, or I feel like I'm being perceived as stagnant outside of myself. So therefore I then take on that perception. Ooh, it's getting deep. So it's hard for me to accept without feeling like there's this level of earning, essentially. But yeah, so what it said though, in connection also to this card that I got the connection to that card that I had previously gotten about the background of my intention being oppression, it asked me what will happen when I think it was like allow myself, I have to get it. It says, what will my life be like when I'm ready to free myself? And I got the 6 of Discs, success. And this one actually had a prompt as well to pull another card. And I wasn't sure if I was going to do it because I wasn't sure how connected it was to my response. Or to my intention per se, but I did it anyway. It says, the question was, what will happen when I'm able to say no? Which is interesting. In this case, there's a connection there. I just didn't feel the need to like define it fully. But I got the 10 of Cups, satiety, if that's how you pronounce it. And I thought that was really, really cool. I really loved that. Yeah, I really loved that. It talked about like fulfillment, and a fulfilled person simply radiates this quality and is recognized by the fruits that they bear. And there's just this idea of like being fulfilled, and it says something ... providing the apparently fragile being with the decisiveness needed to bring forth into the outer world the beauty which it holds deep within. Once again, like with the 6 of Discs, there was a lot there, but clearly there was this sense of like, you have a background of kind of judging yourself by other outside perceptions and acting in accordance with those perceptions and judgments. But when you're able to release those, and when you're able to say no to those, when you're able to say no to these perceptions of yourself that aren't internally motivated, then you have success, you have fulfillment. And I think someone in the Discord had said that they see the 6 of Discs, they gave it a name. I think it was like the spa, what was it? the spiritual mega spa. And I thought that was really cool. I'd be curious to know what they would name the 10 of cups. But yeah, we'll leave it at that for the questions, the tarot questions there. And for our journaling questions, for the first one of how has it felt to explore taste with the tarot, I said it's been incredible. It's been extremely deep. I feel like there's so many layers that I could get into. I said there were also so many rabbit holes I could have gone down. I feel like taste, like smell, has left me wanting more, which I thought was really interesting to put it in comparison to sight and hearing. I feel like those, they weren't, I don't know, something about them just didn't give them that sense of like there's more to be received. But with smell and with taste, I just felt like, gosh, it was like getting a little bit, but like wanting more. And it's even inviting me into more, but like not having the opportunity or even the stamina to really take it all the way. So I don't know, just left me wanting more, kind of whetting my appetite for self-discovery and growth and change. Yeah, and I've really, really enjoyed taste so far. I feel like there's, God, I could say it again and again, so many layers. But yeah, so what culinary dish or style of cuisine would I compare to the Thoth Tarot? I said somewhere between soul food and like experimental, like fancy experimental food. I was like, something about it has like all of the robustness and satiety, here that word is coming in, of like fried chicken, mac and cheese, cornbread. Cornbread was like the first thing that came to mind. Like it's just so good. And more, but also that like elitism of like a $60 to $100 like plate of food that's just an appetizer, but it's like really pretty. It has like some leaves and a flower on it. Yeah, it has this like spectrum of like, have you pondering the spiritual significance of everything, like of the chef, what they were thinking, from a home cooked meal to, like I said, that fine dining elite experience. Not fine dining like fine dining in the sense that it's like extra quality, extra good, but like the elite, food that's just like, what even is this? And like what went into this? Like what is the meaning of this? It reminds me of that scene from there's this movie, Always Be My Maybe, and there's this scene where Keanu Reeves and Ali Wong, they're like at dinner, if I remember this correctly, and they're at this like, uppity, like it's supposed to be like a satire, like a joke on these kinds of places, and they're like listening, they have like headphones on, and they get these like weird meals coming to their table. Like that's what it's giving for me. But it's like the like spiritual aspect of that, but also, like I said, the spiritual aspect of like soul food, of like a home cooked meal by your parents, like, or by your grandparent or something like that, or like going all the way back into like the farmer and like the whole food cycle, and from a full stomach to an empty stomach. Like it has that like full spectrum of experience there, like I said, from like deep, from like soul food to elite, experimental, expensive food that makes no sense. Yeah. That's the cuisine of that is the Thoth. But how does the Thoth Tarot support my discernment? This one was a super interesting question. I really enjoyed this question. I said it brings me deep into my embodiment and my mindset, helping me find the intersection and then make necessary changes. Yeah, just helping me find that intersection between like what I'm actually experiencing with my body and what sort of programmed or patterned thought processes and mindsets that I have, and finding the intersection of that, and then figuring out what to do with it. So yeah, I feel like when I see, I'm able to like identify, and then when I identify, I understand, and then when I understand, I'm able to discern things around me, my experiences, and then able to make quality decisions from there. At least that's how I feel like the process of the Thoth brings me through. That was really interesting, and I could go further with that. I felt like this response felt really like on point and made sense to me, as just like my response. So yeah, and lastly, what does the Thoth Tarot influence me to savor about my life? I said the present. However, the way that I think about this is I feel like it influences me to savor what I already have and what I've already done. And so it's not about the nostalgia of the past, but valuing it so that I can truly enjoy my present. So it has this interesting effect of like speaking to the future, always through the past. So, but because of that, instead of identifying with one or the other, I'm just grateful for where I am now. So it's like has this idea of like trying to transform me into the future by also like referencing like my past and the deep past of life and of things. And so I just tend to just feel this like sense of gratitude and sense of presence. At least that's the experience that I get, and I feel sort of more fortified in the now. Yeah, that's my experience of apparently the thoth. That's how it has me savoring my own existence and presence right now. So, yeah, that's my experience with the questions this week. I really, really enjoyed them. They were really lovely, and yeah, I hope they are for you as well. I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate you for being here. I love you dearly. I'm glad you're here, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.